Hey guys, enter the stars, and thanks for showing up today. I know it's morning for many of you in America. I'm going to get straight to the point because I want this video to be seen by the entire world. We've already shown that the kingdom of heaven is indeed within. The truth about our Savior is written in the midbrain anatomy, as we can see right here. So now there is no question. But then as you begin to look at this anatomy, I mean, this is fascinating. Here you see the pectoral muscles, you see the biceps, the arms, you see him splayed out in the crucifixion position. You see the quadriceps here of the legs. You see even his robe, his crucifixion garb that is wrapped around his waist. It's all here. Now, so I thought to myself, if this is here, then everything else has to be here too. The crown of thorns. And that's why we're here today. Now let me go in here and make sure we're connected. Yes, we are. Give a couple shout outs. There's Tina, Free Spirit Press, Identify This. Thanks for modding for me, girl. And we have V3 Sage, Janet, Mina. So let's go ahead and get into this. So I'm looking, and someone had actually sent me a link on the last video. Where are the crown of thorns? If that is indeed Jesus in the midbrain anatomy, then where is the crown of thorns? This to me, large neuron detected around the brain, described as looking like a crown of thorns. I'm going to show you something else. It's going to seal the deal. This image is, in fact, it's like 3 neurons in the lobes of the brain. These single cell neurons form this crown of thorns. And I'm not saying that there can't be 2 sets of crowns of thorns. But what I was looking for was something closer to the pineal gland. Now here's the same image. This is the midbrain looking at the back of your neck. Here's your spinal cord, brain from the rear. And this forms the head of Jesus. The superior colliculus and inferior colliculus, his shoulders or pectoral muscles. However, that fits in. This is a good side by side. I think this is probably the best one we have. Just the actual anatomy of your body, and it indeed does look like a crucified Christ. So as I looked at here, I saw the structure called the choroid plexus. And I said, that might be the crown of thorns. It is at the 3rd ventricle, just beneath the thalamus, which are these 2 kidney-shaped objects here. And there's this void here. This is called a ventricle. We're going to read about what ventricles are and what they do in the brain. Deeper into this, and I found out that the choroid plexus is a very interesting structure. Plexus that's near that 3rd ventricle. As I showed you, this is another view of it you're looking at. And it says here that the choroid plexus is a plexus of cells that produces the cerebrospinal fluid. This is what generates your cerebral spinal fluid in your brain. It consists of modified ependymal cells. The cerebrospinal fluid, the cerebral spine, sometimes they actually call it some of these fluids and things can be considered an organ because it's got its own system. But here we have a feedback system. The choroid plexus creates the cerebrospinal fluid, which never runs dry. It is, I believe, the well that Jesus talked about that never runs dry. And this is why these ventricles, which are these areas that hold the cerebrospinal fluid, This is why provide this cerebrospinal fluid that flows in here. And it's infinite. It's like infinite waters. Now, there are 4 choroid plexuses in the brain, 1 in each ventricle. So there are 4 ventricles. Ventricles are simply just cavities. Let me show you some pictures so you can kind of wrap your brain around this, no pun intended. Pictures pulled up that'll help you visualize this. Now, these are the surface of the choroid cells. And indeed, they look like thorns. So if you were to magnify this picture, these rope-looking structures, they indeed do look like thorns. This is the surface of them, called cilia. Okay, those are the 2 names given to these of the choroid cells. And I believe what you're looking at is the crown of thorns. And again, this creates the well, this creates the water, the cerebrospinal fluid that circulates in your brain and in your spinal cord. Here's some more images of it. Here in this picture, they call it cilia. Actually, there's cilia and microvilli. There's both. Is from the choroid plexus, which produces the cerebrospinal fluid in your brain. Now, Jesus told the woman at the well, if you knew who I was, you would drink from the waters here. I think he said, from my heavenly Father, because the waters never run dry. You will not be thirsty again. Here's the cilia and microvilli. These are the thorns. This is the crown of thorns, pineal gland. So now we're starting to develop a more complete picture. Now this is a different view, because remember the view we showed you was from the back. So this is what I'm showing you here. Let's see what's going on here. So the view looks from back here, but from the side view, which are these same 2 rope-like structures, here they're just depicted at a different angle. It almost looks like a crown here as well, the way they're depicting this. The pineal sits like right in here. So indeed, thorns. Now, for you guys here. The intercranial nerves. Just like there are 12 different disciples and 12 tribes of Israel and 144,000 faithful, which is 12 times 12. There's a reason why there's 12 pairs of intercranial nerves. Part of God's plan. He wanted you to one day look inside the kingdom of heaven within and find out the truth. And that's what we're doing here. Now, there's more information on this choroid plexus and these ependyma cells. Okay. The CSF-filled ventricles, the ependymal cells, play an important role in the production and regulation of cerebrospinal fluid. Their apical surfaces are covered with a layer of cilia, CSF, around the central nervous system. They're also covered with microvilli, which absorb cerebrospinal fluid. So, this is very interesting. This is an amazing image. This is the ependymal cells, spinal column. And again, this even looks like a crown of thorns surrounding the spinal column. So, what do we do with this information? Well, to me, this is some of the most important information spiritually that one can know. Once you know this, you understand the gospel so much better. very real. So real you can reach out and touch him. As I'm looking at this image and I see the crucifixion of Christ, now I'm going to dig deeper and see what else that I can find in here. The nails that crucified him, for instance. You know, there are 111 days until the end of the year after 9/11. That forms the mirror or the opposite of the number 9/11. So I begin to wonder if that's an opposite or duality, then maybe that 111 is the Vav Vav Vav. That's the 666. It's everything that is not Christ. It's the 3 nails that crucified him. It's the claw marks of a monster. That's why Monster Drink has the 3 claw marks on it. And what Jesus did in this position was he crucified the beast. Basically, he's killing our beast bodies, crucifying the split between the left and right brain, which divides us, right? And what happened when Jesus was crucified? The veil was ripped in 2. Maybe that was the splitting of the brain being symbolized there, even though it didn't happen at that point in history. Jesus was the continuation of Adam. Jesus was everything right that Adam did wrong, right? And when Adam sinned, the thorns, he had to walk about in the thorns and the dust. Everything was cursed. Remember, God told him that. Well, Jesus wore a crown of thorns to undo the curse. And therefore, the temple being ripped was a reflection of our brain being split when we entered our beast bodies, our fallen state, okay, of dust. We were created from dust, but we had a very different likeness before the fall of man. But we were turned into beasts. And what's depicted in our beast bodies is the curse, but also the plan of salvation, which is Christ. And he will crucify our split brains, and we will be one with the right side of the net, the right neural net. Cast your net to the right side. That is your Messiah brain. There's a lot of rumors going around that the God of the Old Testament was the devil, or that he was a necessary evil somehow roaming around in the wilderness with the Israelites, causing things to go wrong and waging genocide. You guys, nothing could be further from the truth, and don't believe that lie. Because if you believe that lie based on a couple of scriptures that say the word Lord and you don't know which Lord they're talking about, if you start to believe that lie, then you also believe that the God of Israel, who protected the Israelites in the wilderness and fought against the serpent seed to preserve the bloodline of Christ, you begin to feel as though that God is the devil. And that's what they're trying to get you to believe. It's the kettle calling the pot black. Now, when I put up this video saying, did God create evil? I got every sort of person out here looking at this and attacking, not attacking, they're just stating that they believe that the God of the Old Testament was evil, that he was the devil, or that evil is somehow necessary. Evil is not necessary. It wasn't part of our original plan. That wasn't God's plan. He tells us clearly all throughout the Bible this was not part of his plan. What he gave us was a choice. And all Adam and Eve had to do was obey. They did not know good or evil until they ate of the tree. Once they ate of the tree of good and evil, then they began to learn evil. Their eyes were opened. They didn't know evil before that. That's what the tree of knowledge of good and evil is. And it isn't that God created evil. It's that he basically created, God has the knowledge of good and evil. He knows what good and evil is. But he knows that anyone who isn't God isn't going to understand. And they're going to choose evil. And that's what happened to us when we turned into a beast. We chose the flesh. When you choose knowledge of good and evil, you go into the flesh realm, the beast realm. And that's what happened to us. So let me close some of these windows up. So we found the crown of thorns. That's cool. Water at the well. The cell structures. I should leave some of these up because I might want to download some of these. Pretty fascinating stuff, you guys. Now, we're going to be going live tonight. For those of you that are up tonight, this is going to be an amazing show because we're going to talk about Terminator. I'm going to show you guys how the Terminator films were all about the Old Testament and the Israelites and the Exodus out of Egypt. And we're going to overlay those films with all the characters. I got all the characters broken down. I've got notes. And we're going to go down through that. I've got screenshots. So for those of you that were into the Terminator films and didn't realize exactly what you're looking at, I'm going to lay it all out to you. We actually even show the names of the characters and how they have meaning. Names have meanings. Every name out there has a meaning, a root meaning behind it. And anytime you see a producer, a writer, director use certain names when they cast films in their stories, all those main names mean something. And we're going to look at that. So let me go in the chat with you guys, see what's going on. And we'll be back on here. It'll be my morning. I'm going to wake up first thing in the morning, but it'll be night for you guys. So many of you guys are, it's really early for you. Some of you, it's not so early. So that's why I kind of set the show at this time. I'm glad the ones of you that are up already were able to come out and see this show. All right. What else do we got in here? Looks like we got someone that doesn't know how to be respectable in the chat, huh? Yeah, just delete their message. You don't have to block them right away. I usually give people a couple chances. Hey, Deb. Hey, Christy. Brian's in the house. Truth. 822. Albert. Doug. Kyle. So I'm going to probably start to wrap this up. You guys, just want to get this information out to you. Please share this video. Amazing information. Like the video. And hopefully get the word out. You know, this is a tough existence, especially for believers, because they kind of set us up to fail, didn't they, with this whole religion thing? I give examples of it, of how they've mistranslated scriptures, and those pastors, rather than call the translation out, because they're kind of beholden to the translation, right? You're never going to hear a Jehovah's Witness say, well, maybe they didn't translate that correctly in the New World Translation. You're never going to hear that being said. You're never going to hear anyone challenge the King James translation. What they'll try to do is like work within the translation, because they're beholden to their denomination, and they can't start saying stuff like that or they'll lose their job. Churches are a corporation. If a pastor doesn't perform, they get fired. You won't know they got fired. They'll just say they got relocated or they're not preaching anymore or whatever. And so religion has done us a disservice in terms of the ability to have real faith, to have the real Holy Spirit within you, because they've brokered out your spirituality and they've got you confined in a very small box. They don't let you out of that box to experience greater blessings and greater understandings of the Bible. Or they'll send you on wild goose chases. Like you go to your pastor for support and he says, well, I recommend first, before we get into the deeper things, that you read the Bible from cover to cover, knowing that very few people have the time or the patience to do that without some kind of inspiration of knowledge to understand things better. Those people hit the book of Numbers or Deuteronomy and they're just done. Or they'll keep rehashing the same Bible stories over and over again. They've got it like on a cycle. It's like television programming. Guaranteed that next year this time they're going to be covering David and Goliath. But they only tell you the basic version of it. They don't tell you the deeper meanings. They don't tell you that David slayed Goliath and hit him in the pineal gland. They don't tell you that David's bloodline was the bloodline of Christ. He was the forefather of Christ. And that Goliath was a giant. He was a Nephilim. He was from the bloodline of the serpent. They don't tell you that. They don't tell you the enmity between the two seeds. They don't tell you any of that. So when you get to some of these stories and you've heard it 100 times, told exactly the same way, there's no power in it. You see. So that's what we do here. We dig deep. And I know you guys don't all have the time to meditate on this stuff and consider it and pray on it, but I do. So I feel like it's to he who more is given. I'm going to share this information with you. That's why I wanted to share with you our findings on the inner anatomy. And this is all biblical. Jesus even talks about being made flesh. That was literal. Call it a mini-me, call it whatever you want. But it's there, and it's fascinating. Okay, I'm in the chat. Let's see here. That's awesome, Deb. That's what I'm here to do. I want everyone to feel the passion that I feel for my Lord. Because it's only a positive thing. It's only going to help you in your life. It's going to give you self-worth. It's going to give you hope. It's going to give you faith. It's going to give you all the things that you're missing, that you've been missing in your whole life. You know, it's interesting because the people that don't believe in God, you know what they tell me? Well, yeah, I tried the God thing and I went to, and I got baptized and I didn't feel anything different. When I got saved, I didn't feel anything. Well, guess what? When you learn information like this, you feel something. I mean, I can imagine that people that have learned about this may have been coaxed and prompted to go get baptized at this point, understanding what rebirth really means. The infinite waters of your brain and the cerebrospinal fluid flowing in and around the image of Jesus and God in your brain. That's how much he loved you. He showed you the answer so that even in death, some truth might come out of it. And that's, to me, is amazing. Re-immersion. Being born into his spirit. That means something. But reading the Bible and going, why would Jesus dunk somebody in the water? Like, I'll be honest with you, all throughout my life as a Christian, I didn't get it. I didn't know why you would go underwater. Like, what does that mean? I had no idea it had anything to do with, even though they say born again, do all of us really make that connection of really going in and being born and then connecting it back to the eye, which is also a womb, basically. Your eye is a womb full of water and you're being born. Does anyone connect it back to how Noah was basically baptized in the flood for 40 days and 40 nights, the same amount of time that a child gestates in the womb? Did anyone make the connection that the Israelites in the wilderness, after they crossed the Red Sea, that was also a water theme of immersion and fasting like a child does in the womb? And that Bible story also reflected back? No, they don't make those connections because they're not filled with the Spirit. And I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the leadership. People are there for the right reasons. At least they're there trying to learn about God. It's the church's fault. It's the leaders. And I'm not even talking, the pastors might not even know this information. It's the people at the top, and you can be sure that they know this information. Okay? And no one, when you learn how all of that's connected, and then that even points forward to Jesus, who was also in the womb for 40 days and 40 nights as he fasted like a baby in the womb. And when you see that and you connect all that to rebirth and being in the wilderness, then baptism makes sense. You're like, whoa, that's fascinating. And it's fascinating all the medical knowledge that ties into the history of the Bible. It makes God like really smart because he was the one that created our bodies. That's a given that he would hide code in our body that would reveal the truth. But very few people ever get to that point, because what will happen is a pastor will say, don't read into that stuff. That's not official doctrine, or that's astrology, or that's blasphemy, or that's whatever they call it, to scare you away from finding these deeper truths that can build your faith. My dream before I die is that the body code, we're now on episode 3, that the body code goes mainstream and every pastor from every denomination picks up this knowledge and teaches it to their flock. That is my dream. That knowledge can increase in the last days and people's faith can be sharpened like steel. And they can embrace God and stand up boldly and strongly to any atheist who wants to say anything to them. And immediately show them the proof that God is right inside of you. If you start denying the very flesh of your body, you will wither up and die. Your heart will fail because God is the one keeping your heart beating. And there's going to come a point where what the Bible says, that men's hearts will fail them out of fear. And that, I believe, is what's going to start to happen. God's only going to give so much grace of people denying their creator. How long do you think your mother would go letting you disrespect her and deny her when you were a 7-year-old child before you started missing meals, or being locked in your room, or have your Game Boy taken away? How long do you think that would go? God is so patient with us. The people that don't believe, he's so patient. And yet people just keep dumping on him over and over again by denying that he even exists. Why? Because they had a bad day, or because a parent died, or whatever? I got news for you. Everyone's suffering. We know why we're suffering, but we have a way out at least. So that's where things sit, you guys. Glad you guys came out. Everyone thumbs up this video, please. I'm sure the trolls are going to attack. I see a few in here already in the thumbs down section who just can't seem to want to believe in God when it's put right there in front of your face like this. This is fascinating to me. This is amazing. I mean, wow. So, I don't know. All right, I'm in the chat. Let's pop this chat out. Let's have a little talky talk with you guys. Some of you are up already. You probably got your coffee. Maybe some of you don't have much to do today and you just want to hang out. So hang out for a few more minutes here. I don't want to burn you guys out for tonight, so I don't want to be on here for hours and hours. But and if you guys have any other ideas, I did read the crucifixion. I was like looking for other things that we might be able to find in the brain that might overlay. So if you guys have any ideas, just, pop them in the chat here, because that would be pretty cool if we could find other stuff. I think we might have figured out the nails in the crucified Christ being like basically representing the beast. Beast nails, like on a Monster drink can. It's a claw marks. And yeah. Religion plays the good cop. They're no better than the atheist. They're no better than the bad religion, than not believing in God. But what they do is it's a setup. I spent the whole first half of my life in a church. Actually, 3/4 of the first part of my life. Where did it get me? 2 divorces. Seems like they spent more time talking about the church budget and making sure the lights stayed on than helping me with my marriage. Where was the accountability? How about helping people stop all the materialism? How about church people that are in the leadership positions in the church setting the example? It isn't until you get older that you learn, that life is like a corporation. The more you have, the more they take. The more you pay in taxes, the more other people want to take. The more drama, the more problems, the more things to maintain, the more it takes your focus off of the kingdom. Plain and simple. I just cut all the way to the chase. All the BS, I just cut through all of it with that statement because it's the truth. I don't care what excuses Joel Osteen makes for owning a $10 million house and 4 vacation properties. I don't care what excuse he comes up with. The fact of the matter is, when you got your focus on all those things, and I know because I owned 2 houses before, I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be planning your next vehicle before the first vehicle that you have is even broken or anything wrong with it. Already thinking about the convertible you're going to get. I know what that life is like. And yeah, you have desires to be closer to God, but you never can be because your mind and heart isn't there. It's on your things. I always give the example of the people in the hurricane that were willing to risk their life to protect their what? Their things. As if their things had any value compared to their life. But they had to stay and protect it from the poachers. Now imagine the person that has nothing. There's nothing to protect. You get out of the way. You see the difference? So there you go, you guys. Just trying to lay it all out, Trying to lay it all out. Here, let's blow this up a little bit. Why is my screen so small? That's better. I've been staring at the screen too long. Anyway, the Terminator decode is going to be fantastic. Gosh, it's like I want to just go into it right now, but I know you guys will be more relaxed. Maybe some of the kids will be in bed in the evening and you just hang out and just go through some of these screenshots and talk about all this. It's crazy. Yeah, the cannibal, Brian, exactly. Cannibal. Why do they call cannabis cannabis? It's got Cain and Abel in it. I always wondered that. All right. See, Tina's in the house. I see some new faces in here. Thanks, you guys, for coming out. Yeah, if you guys have any other ideas about, different different parts of the crucifixion that you think that might be clues into the brain? Go ahead and pop your ideas in here because I'd love to see it. Maybe before the crucifixion happened, you know? We already talked about the two thieves. Those are your two eyes, by the way. They also could represent the two hemispheres of your brain. Only one would get to go to heaven with Jesus. He only turned to one of those thieves. But they both try to steal your salvation because that's what thieves do, right? So Guido says, "Bonjour." Getting better. I went grocery shopping yesterday. Got some things from the store, and I'm learning how to read the labels now. Everything's starting to kind of settle in and sink in. It was tough at first. I didn't know what I was buying. It's like, what is this? And I got a couple go-to items that I just get that makes it easy to shop. So yeah. All right. What else do we have here? And the root of the problem with organized religion is that because they've been divided by these denominations, they actually have a little battle, a little war going on. And you'll see this, like I saw it very clearly, like with Jehovah's Witnesses. They actually have a book called Reasoning from the Scriptures, and it's basically designed to battle. It's like a battle book. Remember those? Remember those rap battles back in the 80s and 90s? And they would have like a battle, and you would like rap against each other. Well, Jehovah's Witnesses have this book called the Reasoning from the Scriptures, and it's a battle book. So basically, it's written so that you can look things up as someone's talking to you, and you'll know exactly what to say. If they say this, then you say that. That's crazy. It's like they spend a lot of their time kind of attacking other religions and making blanket statements like none of these people are going to go to heaven. None of these people are going to go to, live on a paradise earth, as if they know, as if they're somehow God and they don't know individual situations. I had a grandmother and she was Catholic. She was the sweetest, kindest lady in the world. She didn't know that her religion was deceiving her. She took care of me in the summers. She cared for me. She gave me time. She actually cared because that was her blood. But if you talk to Jehovah's Witness, those people are not going to be in the paradise earth because they're following a false religion, and God's just going to erase our memory, and we're not going to really miss those people. And that's kind of what they tell you. And I just don't believe it. I believe only God knows the heart. He's the only one that can judge. He's the only one that knows where anyone's going. And Christ's likeness is beyond a religion. Here's the thing, a truly humble and sweet person, just in their likeness, is going to be submitted to a higher power. They just are. They just are. And if they're watching this show, they're going to know that Christ is real, because I can't think of any other people throughout history that were crucified that way that look exactly like what we're seeing in the back of the brain. So that's all the proof I need. And there's a scripture in the Bible that says something like, "Blessed be you because you were able to believe through faith," I think is how it goes. Blessed be you because Jesus was talking to one of his disciples. He said, "Blessed be you because you were able to believe through faith rather than the flesh," was it? And so it infers that there is a proof through the flesh. So that's pretty amazing. All right, let's see here. In the chat. Let's look that up. I think it was Simon. Blessed Simon, for you believe. Bible. Let's see if I remembered it correctly. Oh, okay, here we go. This is it, Matthew 16:17. Thought it was Simon. Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven. There you go. That confirms everything we just been saying. It can be confirmed by flesh and blood, which is what we're doing right now. But for Simon, he got a direct nod from his Father in heaven. And that's probably reserved for very special people. You are this Christ, the Son of the living God. They knew he was the Christ, the Son of the living. See, this is a key word. Simon knew. He knew who Jesus was. Just like we are trying to show you that we know. We're showing you the flesh. And Jesus said, you're blessed because you didn't have to see the flesh to know. You didn't have to see the crucifixion in the back of the brain to know. But his Father in heaven. That is amazing. That might be my new channel. I might put that on my channel about section. Because I feel like this is the most important work we've done. On this rock, I will build my church. Wow. Pretty amazing. All right, where's our chat at here? Got away from us. There you are. See, Joe's in the house. Juliana's Curiosity. Some new folks on the channel. Welcome, you guys. Guido says, go carp fishing. Yeah, I've got a permit, Guido, for the year. But carp fishing is kind of, I don't know. I mean, I can't eat them, right? Well, I guess some people eat them. I don't know, man. I'm just in a fishing funk here in France, and the weather is getting cold. I think the salmon are supposed to start running soon, so I got to just go underneath the dams. Maybe I'll go salmon fishing. Getting a little chilly. All right. Could you look into the water flowing out after Jesus was pierced on the cross? Ooh, yes. Oh, okay. You know what that is, right? Okay, so when God went into Adam's side, he pulled out the woman, right? Well, when Jesus' side was pierced, water came out. Let's look that up. Maybe that's like the womb, like the woman as the womb, which is water, right? Let's take a look here. That's pretty fast. Remember, everything that Jesus did, there's a correlation, or like there's an opposite of it that relates back to Adam. Okay, that's the cool part. We see this mirroring from the Old Testament to the New. Jesus' side pierced. Bible. Oh, in 1934. Pierce. Okay, so this is the woman coming out of Christ. Okay, but when they came to Jesus and saw that he was already dead, they did not break his legs. Okay, what does that mean? They did not break his legs. Okay, instead, one of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, and immediately blood and water flowed out. That has to do something with God opening up Adam's side and taking a rib out and creating the woman. The one who saw it has testified to this, and his testimony is true. He knows that he's telling the truth, so that you also may believe. Okay, so that's kind of like a miracle. It's like basically linking Jesus back to Adam, because Jesus was from Adam's bloodline, so it makes sense. But this miracle, basically pointing back to the woman coming out of the side of Adam, I believe is what this scripture is getting at. That's why they're making a big deal out of it, that blood and water flowed out. That's pretty interesting. That's something I can dig deeper into later as well. Maybe we'll do a video on it. There's my chat. All right. Thanks, Doug. Yes, the blood of Christ, Joe, that makes us saints. And the blood that corrects our tainted blood. Let's see here. Why hast thou forsaken me? Psalm 22, I think not positive on channel, laugh out loud. My God, why have you forsaken me? That's a verse you're talking about. My guess is they probably mistranslated that. The word forsaken probably means something else. They like to throw in like shades of doubt as part of the religious experience. That's why there's all the hypocrisy. That's why they get away with what they get away with. I don't like to bash people, but also I speak the truth. I had a pastor read a letter out to the church from, he said his ex-wife wrote it, or his soon-to-be ex-wife, giving him permission to move on with his life and have a divorce. And he'd actually said, please, for the church not to judge him for it, that she's releasing him. And then he went on to marry somebody else's wife that he had counseled in marriage counseling. This is the kind of stuff that goes on in the church. This guy's still doing his thing, still a pastor, his wife's a teacher. You know, I mean, I can understand a divorce, but then marrying someone else's wife, and now all of a sudden that kid, the kids from both families are like in this blended family. It was just weird. That was kind of the last straw for me. And it's not a judgment. It's just, where is the difference? All right. What else do we got here? I'm back in the chat. Hey, Christy, do you want to be a mod? I would have offed that priest. No, we got to be Christ-like, right? But it's okay to talk about the truth. And I didn't mention his name, so. All right. I think we need one more mod. Cool. Christy wants to be a mod. Let's mod Christy up here. Add moderator. You've been moderated. All right. So, yeah, and then, you know, like growing up in the Jehovah's Witness religion, we never had friends that were Baptists or Seventh-day Adventists. We didn't commune with them. We weren't friends with them. We're divided from them. The only people we hung out with were people from the Jehovah's Witness religion. Same goes for Adventists. When I was an Adventist, we didn't go hang out with Jehovah's Witnesses. We didn't go hang out with Baptists. We didn't go hang out with people from other religions. We kind of stuck to ourselves because they funnel you into this narrow belief system that separates you from your brothers and sisters in other religions. Therefore, you don't even feel comfortable around those people because they're eating meat and you're not. I will say that we did have a men's group that, well, there were people from different walks of life and different religions that did attend the men's group. So I will say that. So it wasn't like all bad in that way. I'm just saying in general, anytime you state a doctrine, you say, this is what we believe, and it's different from everyone else. And if you want to be part of us, you have to join our church. Anytime you do that, you are automatically separating yourself. And I don't think that's what God wants us to do. Whereas over here, our arms are open to all people that go to churches. It's the leadership is the problem. I believe they're Freemasons at the very top. So what else do we have here? I'm in the chat. I'm going to leave you guys with this before I get off of here because I need to save some steam for tonight, right? Let's see here. Yeah, I was Seventh Adventist too, Miss Redwood. Actually, we'll save it for tonight. I'll see you guys back on here, and we'll have a good show. I'll have my coffee and be ready to roll. Just love talking to you guys. Guido says salmon fishing is fun. Hey, Guido, where do you live? Thanks, Althea. Bye, Shirley. You too, Sophia. Have a nice day. All right, guys, take care and be safe.